Hi there. Welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. I'm so glad you're joining me here today. As you've likely guessed by now, my name is Denise Alvarez. I get the pleasure and honor of hosting you here each week. And before we dive in and I introduce you to today's guest, I will quickly introduce myself just in case for new friends. And I promise it is brief, and then we'll dive right in. So, as I said, my name is Denise, and through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, I get to help dream chasing, passion driven entrepreneurs in the horse world to build and grow a sustainable business without burning out. And those things are so key to me because I want to help you do it long term, and I want to help you do it in a way that meets your version of success. And that means we don't burn out, right? So I do that through one-on-one coaching where we focus on your marketing strategy and getting real clarity and building a comprehensive plan on that, as well as one-on-one coaching when you need it. So you can book a 60-minute coaching call at any time. And all of that information, of course, is on my website at stormlilymarketing.com. That's Storm, Lily, marketing.com. But truly, you guys, here on the podcast and in the business, all that I'm doing is to help you as an equine entrepreneur to be out doing what it is you love to do in the horse world. So whether you're in the barn, in the arena, in the pasture, in the truck, driving to and from barns, or you're behind the computer or behind the camera lens, I know there are so many different facets of the equine industry, but the beauty of it is there are entrepreneurs like you who are keeping it going. And so I want to help you do more of that. And so today we're doing that by way of introducing you to a friend that is not new to me, but maybe new to you. But I have had the pleasure of working with Kelly in a few different capacities over about the past year and a half. I got to help her launch her first website for her business. And then as you'll hear her share, she was in my group coaching program and has done some of the one-on-one calls. And so it has been such a pleasure and honor. But what I want you to hear, what I know is going to be one of your takeaways as you hear from Kelly, is how important the reputation that you build in the horse world is as a business owner. Because as you guys are going to hear her share, and as I told you, we just launched her website last year, which was 2025, early 2025, mid, somewhere in there. But while the business is still on the newer end, she is not new to the industry. And you will hear that in her story. She has been in the equine industry for a long time, but newer to the entrepreneur world. But what has been so beautiful is to see the melding of those two things and how her experience and the trust she had built and what she was doing before led to the successful business that she has now. And so you're going to hear that in her story. And I know you're going to be inspired by her. And you're probably going to want to look her up just to learn from her because, as you guys will hear, she is a trusted voice in the equine nutrition space and in so many different facets. So I can't wait for you guys to get to meet Kelly Vineyard. So without further ado, let's jump on in. And here is my conversation with Kelly. All right, Kelly, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I'm so excited you're here and I'm so grateful for this gift of time.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has kind of been a little bit of a long time coming.
It's such a full circle moment. Like, I'm so thrilled and excited for people to meet you. And it's so fun to get a backseat version for me to get to see all the things from different angles. But today is really a new angle because we're going to kind of go back to the beginning. So I've gotten to work with you from the beginning of your business, but your journey goes beyond that. And so for those listening, for myself, I would love to hear about your journey to horses and then, of course, your professional journey and then how this idea of starting a business began for you.
Well, sure. I think probably like most of your listeners, I am a horse girl at heart. And I think I was born with that gene. But unfortunately for me, I was born into a non-horsey family. So I grew up in the state of Alabama. So if you hear that in my voice a little bit, that's where that comes from. And, my parents, I mean, we lived in the suburbs and, my first exposure to horses, was like watching cartoons and then the horse movies. And I always was really drawn to horses, just anything horse. I wanted to have my little ponies, all of that good stuff. Right. Well, I got really lucky when I was in fifth grade because my fifth grade teacher also taught horseback riding lessons.
Oh,
And when I learned that, I was like, okay, mom and dad, like, you have to let me take horseback riding lessons. And that's really where my true horse journey started. I actually had to write a letter to convince them to let me take horseback riding lessons. And I broke it down with all the hours in the week and like, this is the hours that I have, gymnastics and piano lessons. And this is the hours I do homework. And look at all this free time I have to take horseback riding lessons.
That is brilliant. I love
And,
that.
and so they could say no to that, right?
How
um,
could you?
and, thankfully I had supportive parents, right? That let me take riding lessons. That ended up leading to buying my first horse when I was, in middle school. Probably saved me from a lot of, getting in trouble. I just was a
Right.
horse girl instead. And, bless my parents' hearts. They did the best they could to like support that. I was also really good at school. I loved science. I loved math. And so when I went to college, I knew I wanted to marry those two, my love for horses and my love for science and math and school in general. And so I went to Auburn University, and I majored in animal and dairy sciences. And I did what most horse girl sciencey people do is majored in pre-vet. And I thought that that was my track to be an
Yeah.
equine veterinarian. And I actually got to work at the vet school when I was an undergrad there. And again, I had a really good mentor, Dr. Bob Coleman there, one of our counselors, there in the university. And he's like, you can't just go to graduate school and study nutrition and not, you can do other things besides being a vet and work with science and horses. And I really had no idea. And so thankfully he pointed that out to me and I sort of explored that opportunity and that led me to go to graduate school at the University of Florida, where I earned both my master's and my PhD in equine nutrition. And that really wasn't the plan. I originally wanted to just
Yeah.
do my master's and stop there. And I've again had another really good mentor, and he's like, "Look, you should stay. Like, you should stay and do your PhD. We need
Mhm.
more equine scientists and more nutritionists." And thank you, Joe McQuay, for convincing me to stay to do my PhD because I did that. And then my journey from there went to my dream job. And I became, I went straight from graduate school, finished my PhD. I mean, granted, I was like almost in my 30s at this point. Graduate school takes a really long time. But I went to work for Purina Animal Nutrition and became a, equine nutritionist there. Completely like if I'd ever said, what company do you want to work for? Like that was it
Mhm.
because, they
Mhm.
kind of has such a deep history in horse feed in the United States. And so I was fortunate enough to go work there and ended up staying there for 16 years before I left and started my own business.
There's so many pieces and parts of that, Kelly, that I just love. The mentorship, I'm sure we will touch on later and the
Yes.
value of that. But even tell me, I'm curious, when you were doing pre-vet and they mentioned to you nutrition, was there something in there that they saw or that they heard you talking about that made them start to point you that direction?
Well, when it comes to equine science, there's only a couple of major tracks that you can focus on. And originally, he had talked about repro, and that
Okay.
really didn't trip my trigger very much. But nutrition did because I had a cat when I was in um, undergrad at Auburn, poor college kid. And my cat got really, really sick. And so took him to the vet and he ended up getting diagnosed with feline leukemia, which is a fatal disease basically. When these cats, they usually euthanize them. Well, that was not an option for me. I'm like, no, we are not euthanizing my cat. I will, keep him indoors and he won't infect anybody else, but I love him and I'm going to make him better. And so I actually sought out a holistic veterinarian who focused on nutrition. And she helped me create his own diet that I made from scratch. So I'm like buying ground turkey from the grocery store. And then I go to the health food store and buy all the vitamins and minerals that had to go in to make it balanced. And he ate better than me for like a year, for sure.
Yeah, especially as
And
a college student.
yeah, and my roommates were like, "Why do we have all these little baggies of frozen turkey in the freezer? Like, you're crazy." But you know what? He thrived on that, and he turned around, became really healthy. I ended up having him retested for leukemia, and he did what's called seroconverted and ended up testing negative, and
Wow.
and because he was healthy, and nutrition is powerful, and so that really got me interested in nutrition and the power of nutrition, and And so when I learned I could study nutrition in horses, I was like,
Mhm.
absolutely, that's what I'm supposed to do. So
So good. I love that, and I did have a peek of that from doing your website. I was like, "We gotta bring the cat in," because I
yeah.
know that that's so much of the heart of what you do, and for my listeners too, everybody's story is so deeply connected with the why behind their business, and so that's extremely powerful. So then you're at Purina, and so tell me, when did you start to get the itch of, like, "I might wanna go out on my own?"
Oh, that's a really good question. It was only a few years ago that I started to become restless. I really felt like, maybe there's something else for me out there. There's something else I should be doing. I didn't really see a clear path where I was at to go where I wanted to go, and so I decided to just bet on myself and make my own path. And I think that that's kind of one of the keys. It took me a really long time to admit that to myself. I mean, I was in this really
Mhm.
comfortable, good job. I loved my coworkers. I really enjoyed working with everybody in the company, and the things I got to do were great opportunities. But something shifted, and I wanted more intellectual autonomy, basically.
Mm,
And I
mhm,
also wanted to be able to help people in different ways. And I just didn't see a path in my current role to be able to do that. And it took a long time for me to get up the nerve to walk away voluntarily from that really cushy, comfy, solid
sure.
job. But
Yeah, that well, and
yeah,
especially because it's not like you were super unhappy, right? You said you were
exactly.
restless, but it's not like it was a situation where you were like, "I've gotta get out of here, and here's my timeline," and,
Right.
there was just a restlessness, which I think a lot of people could identify with. I'm curious, I don't think you said this, but for those listening, I have a little bit more intimate knowledge of what you were doing at Purina, but those listening may not know and I find it super interesting and intriguing. So tell us a little bit about when you were there, the kinds of things that you were doing as a nutritionist. What did that look like?
Right. I did a lot of different things. So namely, I was in research and development, so new product development. So new products that I got to work on that you may be familiar with. So there's a Super Sport amino acid supplement. That was a product I kind of helped come up with the idea for and took it from start to finish, all the way to how to market it and how to talk about it. Um, Outlast gastric support supplement, that was a project I worked years on. I mean, we did several research studies. So I would help manage the research with LSU, and then we also did some internal research at our own research farm, and then also helping our marketing teams know how to talk about it and how do we represent the science accurately. Um, Equine Senior Active was another my baby. I love that product so much still to this day, just because some of the research we did behind that. We partnered with Gluck Equine Research Center in Kentucky and really trying to get some, good science behind some of the ingredients in our products. And I just enjoy marrying science and nutrition and trying to make horses be healthier through that. And I really felt like I was able to do that at Purina. I also helped train a sales force, so help them understand, really how do these products fit into different scenarios.
Mhm.
I would, do a lot of talks. I actually ended up working a lot with veterinarians. We had a veterinary conference every year at Purina. We invited anywhere from, 200 to 1 year, I think we had 500 veterinarians come.
Oh, wow.
We'd give them a tour of our research facility. We'd also bring in outside speakers and do some continuing ed. And at the kind of there towards the end, I was managing that whole conference and sort of, picking the speakers, picking the topics. And, all of us PhDs would give talks, but I was kind of the one behind the scenes, like, making the decisions, which was a really cool opportunity and a big job, but I loved it because I love working with vets. That's another thing I really enjoy doing because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, we're all just trying to help horses thrive, right? And to do the best they can. Veterinarians through medicine, me through nutrition, and then you can combine that. It's a pretty powerful combination.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
I did a
okay.
little bit of everything, and I got to meet professional riders. I got to help them with their horses, which is an
Mm,
opportunity I probably never would have had otherwise. And very, very good experience working in a company, building those skills, building
mhm.
relationships. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was a great experience.
Yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
diving into that. I think that's beautiful, and it leans so well into then you being equipped to go out, and so even again, when we think about people starting their own businesses, it can look different for everybody, but man, how powerful it is when you already have that 16 years of expertise and experience and connections and all of that built up behind you. So you started to get the itch, you started to get restless. And so tell me a little bit about what that process was like for you, and that led you to actually go on your own and start your own business.
Yeah, well, the process was slow. I will say it for the itch was there, but I'm a details person and I wanna kinda, like, have everything lined out and ha be certain, that something's gonna be, and I think one of the biggest lessons I learned early on is there's no certainty in business, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so I had to become uncomfortable with uncertainty, and but I started talking to people, and I found a couple trusted mentors that I reached out to. Um, there's actually a guy I reached out to on LinkedIn. He didn't know who I was, but he kinda did some independent consulting in the equine world overseas, in Great
Mm.
Britain, and I like, "Look, you don't know who I am, but would you mind, like, talking to me about what you do?" And that actually grew into a
Mhm.
really great relationship, and now we're good friends, and I trust him, and we still are in contact, but he kinda helped, you know, tell me what it's all about to do consulting and what that kinda looks
Yeah.
like, and I actually had a couple of other trusted mentors that basically just let me, like, verbally, like, process everything
Yeah.
until I was
Mhm.
ready to kinda pull the trigger and,
Mhm.
and it was hard. I mean, I don't wanna act like it was easy because it wasn't. It
Yeah.
was really hard,
Sure.
especially when you have relationships with coworkers that you value
Yep.
I knew that that was the piece I was gonna miss the most, was walking away from, like, an environment of like-minded people, and now I'm gonna be on my own,
Yeah.
and so that was a shifted mindset too,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, it all kinda came down to just slowly by slowly, the more I thought about it, the easier it became to picture myself doing something different.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so did you know from the get-go, you were like, "Consulting is what I wanna do"? Like, was that the piece? Because again, what you did at Purina was vast, and
Mhm.
so then you kinda had to determine, "Okay, if I was gonna start my own business, what is it I would actually do?" Was that easy for you to determine? Did you, like, have a picture in your mind of like, "Okay, I wanna be a consultant and I wanna do these things," or how did that look for you, or what parts were easy for you?
I think, yes and no. I did have an idea of what I wanted to do, but I will say, I've been in it about a year now at this point. What I'm doing now is different than what I envisioned that I was gonna be doing.
Mhm.
So, I have pivoted from what I originally thought. I was gonna focus on working with, equine veterinarians and horse owners and, case consults and things like that, and I definitely did a lot of that, and I'm still doing some of that. But what has my as time has gone on, I have evolved into really focusing my energies on supporting, feed manufacturers and supplement manufacturers who really wanna elevate their products and elevate the science, and I can totally get behind that, so I'm helping companies do that, and, it's been a little bit of a pivot from what I originally thought I was gonna be doing, but it's makes a lot of sense and it feels right, so I think that's
Yeah.
I always try to follow what feels right at the time, and so I'm trying to honor that now, and as I kinda pivot as I have pivoted over time, I actually just recently even, I'm turning away some of these one-on-one consults because, I don't have the time anymore to do that, but I do have good referrals to good PhD nutritionists who
Yeah.
who can serve those people very well, and I'm always happy
Mhm.
to do that too, so
Yeah. That's so good for people to hear too. It's that we've talked about on the podcast, action bringing clarity. If once you take those next steps, you may even think you have clarity, but once you start taking more steps, you get even more clarity. And I think that's a beautiful example of that, like being willing to take the steps and then see where it takes you. So
yeah.
tell us, Kelly, so obviously, yes, as you said, you've been in business a year. And even when I mentioned you on the podcast, you're like, wait, let's wait for a little bit. And I love that because the reason I invited you too was because I've gotten to see the behind the scenes of this business building journey. And I know that my listeners could learn, even though you are earlier in your entrepreneurship,
Mhm.
you've been strategic about it and smart about it, and, I think that we can learn from all phases and seasons. So I wanted people to see and learn from somebody who's, yes, been in it a year, but already, at a place where you're making some strategic moves because you are capped and because you are in demand and you have been strategic about how you even left and what those announcements looked like and all of those things were
Mhm.
intentional. That being said, even though it's only been a year, I know, and you could even dip back even further before you left if you like, but I know that like any business owner, you've had some challenges or surprises along the way. So share with us some of those things, what that's looked like for you, some of those challenges or surprises over the past year or so.
Oh yeah, I've had plenty of those. So, I would say, starting with challenges, probably the biggest challenge is my mindset and shifting my mindset from, a technical expert, a scientist, and kind of what my role was, my corporate role to a business owner. Like that is a different mindset. And so, learning to now, if I overthink too much, I just get stuck. So I've had to learn to stop overthinking and, yes, like when you're a scientist, you are a perfectionist by nature, like that just comes with the territory. But now I've had to learn to have more willingness to let go of some of that perfectionism and don't let it get in the way of progress, some of the things I've worked with you on, like, maybe if I'm capped and maybe I need to bring in somebody else. It's like, I think I have to have everything perfect before I can do that. And, I know you kind of helped me, like, not that big of a deal. Just here you go. And you like offer me a solution. I'm like, oh yeah, that was actually pretty simple. So why am I overthinking this? So, shifting my mindset. And another challenge that I am struggling with currently, to be honest with you, is learning to say no.
Mhm.
And learning, every yes, like, add something to my plate, but every no I have to learn, like, just gives me more opportunity to do what I'm doing even better and not take away with from what I'm currently doing. And I can't say yes to everything. And I like to say yes to everything. I don't like to say no.
Yeah.
Um, but that is not healthy and that's not sustainable either. And
Right.
so, finding those boundaries, like, and learning boundaries, like being willing to pivot if something's not working, you know,
Mhm.
yes, I've had to learn how to do that. Um, on the flip side, some of the, I guess, surprises, you know, the number one, I mean, not the number one, but I think a very important piece is what did not expect is the willingness of other people to help. Um,
Mhm.
I've had so many really good mentors that have been just willing to offer me their insights, whether it's just encouragement or like specific strategic insights. I mean, you're actually one of those people that has been willing to help, but also there's, people in my life that have been really encouraging, or if I have a question and I call them up, they're willing to offer help. Even quote competitors, or like other consultants in the business, like, I'm really grateful for those who have been very willing to help, and I guess maybe I didn't expect that. And then, said people sending referrals my way, like, I appreciate that, and I maybe didn't expect that, but it's been a really, really nice surprise. And then I guess the other thing as a new business owner that has surprised me is, even though I am busy and I'm still, working, several hours, as many hours as I did in corporate, I feel really at peace. And I
Mhm.
have this feeling more of like alignment that I'm kind of doing something that is like meeting a need, like that I needed to help people in a different way. And and when you're aligned with what you want to do, like with what you're good at and what brings value to other people, that's a really good feeling. And so I have found that to be true. And when you're on your own boss, you get to decide how you use your talents, and you get to
Yes.
decide who you want to work with. And that's something I didn't have fully before, but now
Mhm.
that I'm my own boss, I do. And that's been an unexpected bonus. Yeah.
I love that last
Yeah.
one. I'm like, I wanna hang out there, but the other things that you said were so good too because mindset, I think we underestimate the power of
Oh,
that,
yes.
and especially for entrepreneurs, I say regularly to my family, like, I don't diminish the people that are working in corporate or doing something that's not entrepreneurship. There's need for that, And when you're having to sell yourself as a business owner and put yourself out there in a new way, there's just a different mindset and different mental monsters that I say come out.
Mhm.
And so that's such an important piece that we do have to address. And so I love that. And even going from employee to business owner, and I
Mhm.
talk about with my clients, right? Even just forgetting that you are the business owner. You have permission, like you said, to work with who you want to work with and to
Mhm.
say no so that you can say yes over here. It's so very important. So I'm so glad you mentioned the mindset piece.
Right. Yeah.
And then the last part though, alignment. That's really powerful too. Like
Mhm.
I'm excited for you in that too because I can see that when you talk
Yeah.
about the work that you get to do. And again, it goes back to as entrepreneurs, you have that power and on depending on how long people have owned their businesses, oftentimes they forget, right? You feel like you've been doing this one thing for a while or this is what you've become known for and you forget that as a business owner, you do have permission to pivot and to make sure that the work that you're doing does bring you joy and give you life and all those things because you could definitely go get a different job in a corporate setting or wherever where you don't have the weight of entrepreneurship, but you do lose some of that freedom and power and choice as well. So if you have
Right.
the freedom and power and choice, take advantage of it, and do the things you love to do.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
let's talk marketing, Kelly. So, you are somebody that I actually have told many people about in terms of LinkedIn
Mhm.
because the way if I had said it from day one when we started working together and I was studying your LinkedIn post to create the content for your website and I said the way you do LinkedIn is so brilliant because it is personal, it's intentional and it's still professional and there's engagement and people are having conversations with you and I love that. Now, I don't know how you were using LinkedIn prior because I didn't go that far back in your content.
Right.
So I'm curious when we talk about marketing and knowing what it's been like and why it's important, which I do want to hear your mindset on that. But specifically to LinkedIn, was there a shift for you that you made when you started thinking you were going to go out on your own? And how were you using it before compared to how you use it now as a business
Oh,
owner?
100% yes. There was definitely an intentional shift. And I probably before, like a lot of people that maybe have a corporate job, you just use LinkedIn as to like find other people that you may have met at a conference or, have some sort of relationship with, like Facebook for professionals.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
kind of how a lot of people use LinkedIn.
Hmm.
Well, about several months before I knew I was going to leave my corporate job, I said, I better start like building something on my own. And where else would I do that besides LinkedIn? Because that's really where my future clients are going to be. They're not going to be on Facebook. They're not going to be on Instagram. So, LinkedIn made sense for my business because that's where my customers were going to be, other businesses. And so I just kind of came up with like, let me just tell my story. Like, and provide some value too, like nutrition. I mean, that's obviously my expertise, so I would pick a nutrition topic and I would do a little deep dive on it, and also just try to be myself, like bring my own personality into it as well, and not just be like a very like cut and dry, boring sciencey post, but also it's not me to just like post a selfie and say, "I'm having coffee today," either, there is something
Right.
between, right? It's
Yes.
about for me and but that's who I
For
am,
you. Hmm.
and that's who I am, so I was being authentic to myself, and I did, very intentionally had a rhythm that I was trying to follow on LinkedIn, and, once a week, I read up on some of the expert, insights on timing of post and, interact on LinkedIn for, a few minutes or 15 minutes before you post, and that can boost your algorithm. Like, I tried to learn some of that stuff. I'm not very great at it, but, I felt like that was probably important because somebody identified that it worked. Um, but I will say LinkedIn is an amazing way for me to make connections with new people. I mean, that's how I made a connection with the consultant in Great Britain. I've also since made a bunch of really great connections. Some I've gotten new clients from LinkedIn. I've gotten involved in some initiatives through connections in LinkedIn. And it's not just posting on LinkedIn, it's commenting and it's interacting on other people's posts in an authentic way. Like, if it's something that I really think is interesting or I really want to thank them for sharing their insight, I'm going to interact.
Hmm.
I'm not going to just interact just to do it. I want it to be genuine. Um, And I will say over time, now that I am a year in my, I have to like intentionally go to LinkedIn because I'm like really busy right now. And so
Right.
I don't have a lot as extra free time, maybe as I did before when I didn't have any clients. Um, but I've been kind of slacking off on my LinkedIn lately, I will say. And I kind of miss it because I still think there is an opportunity for authentic connection with other people like in your area, whatever that may be. So
Mm.
I think LinkedIn is a good place to be, but I did intentionally not get on other social media because I knew I didn't have the energy to do that, and I also knew it probably wouldn't be right for my future clients either, so.
Quick interruption, but we'll be back soon. You've heard me mention Take the Reins, my one-on-one coaching program for passion-driven equine entrepreneurs who want a clear marketing strategy that goes beyond chasing trends on social media. Well, I wanted you to hear what happened for one horse business owner after joining. Her name is Amy, and here's what she said. Because what I do in the equine industry is so unique, it was very hard for me to succinctly communicate that. That's why I decided to get the support and expertise I needed so I could communicate it better from a marketing perspective. Having that clarity of my mission and my vision about my business has completely changed the marketing that I do, how I show up for my customers and my clients, and it helps shape my day to day because it's keeping me on the correct path of truly what my why is for my business. The clarity I gained from Take the Reins has helped me go deeper and focus on what my mission and vision is to truly grow my business. Now, the focus of my time and my energy and even my finances is going to the correct things. How good is that? That's what happens when you get outside eyes on your business, strategy from someone who gets the unique nuance of marketing in the horse world, and a personalized process that's focused on your version of success. Amy was just like you, a podcast listener. Before we even connected in a coaching capacity, she listened to the podcast and she took action from what she heard and the resources she downloaded. So if you are ready to go beyond DIY like Amy and you feel like a clear marketing strategy is the missing piece that's keeping you stuck, visit stormlily.com/reins to apply for Take the Reins today. I'll be in touch personally after you apply. Okay, I'm curious. Number one, I love that. And I love people getting to hear that. Especially, I want to do an episode, particularly just on LinkedIn at some point, but I want to get somebody on that. I am not the expert on it at the moment. I do think there are common throughputs of content marketing, regardless of what platform you're on. But
Mhm.
I'm sure there are some nuances specific to LinkedIn that I'd like to
Yeah.
highlight. But what I want people to also hear is the intentionality and the permission. So I am curious. It sounds like, but I'm just curious just in case. It sounds like you weren't tempted or didn't feel like you had to be all the places all the time, especially since you were just starting out. Is that the case, or did you have a time where you were actually considering other platforms, or from the get-go were you like, nope, I'm going to focus my effort only on this one place?
Yeah, I mean, I did, like, put a placeholder on Instagram and Facebook with my EquiVine business name because I didn't want anybody to steal it.
Mhm.
And so I did that, and I thought, "Okay, well, maybe" especially Instagram, I thought, "Maybe I'll build out an Instagram at some point." I haven't done it yet,
Mhm.
and I have no plans to in the near future, because I feel like what I'm doing is working for me now.
Mhm.
But if again, I'm willing to pivot. So if things change and
Right.
my ideal, customer or whoever I'm trying to reach changes and they end up someone who might be more likely to be on Instagram, then maybe I'll change that in the future. But for now, LinkedIn just feels right to me, and that's where I'm staying. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I love that, and I had a client ask me one time, she's like she has a pretty active Facebook page and business page and profile, and she said, "I met with somebody else before I met with you, and they told me that I was missing out if I'm not on, Instagram. So, I need to create an Instagram profile and go all in there." And so we talked about this idea that there's not a right or wrong, but there is a right for you, and like
Mhm.
you mentioned, your capacity and what your goals are. And so if what you're doing is meeting your goals in the moment, then why stretch yourself then just because there
Right.
are people over there, right? So technically somebody listening could say, but Kelly, there are people on Instagram that would want what you have. Absolutely. But you're meeting your capacity, you're beyond your capacity, you're meeting demand and what you want to do right now. And so why choose to burn yourself out or hire someone to create content for you,
Right.
when it's not a part of your goals right now and your success picture right now. So I think it's a beautiful example of that. And so I want people to hear that and to remind themselves they have that permission to dig in and focus and get the fruits of that labor.
Yeah.
When it comes to the marketing side of things, are there other things that you have learned or why it's been important to you and what marketing looks like for you that may look different for others?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of depends on what type of business you have, right? Which type of marketing makes sense. And I'm a science person at heart, like that's my training. So, coming up through school, and I mean, I never took the first business class, I never took the first marketing class, I never read a marketing book. Like it was definitely something that's just over there, kind of as someone who focused on science. However, when I was at Purina, I worked with some really talented marketers,
Mm,
and I ended up liking it kind of because all to me marketing is just telling a story and like getting your message out and I always like to say that science and marketing are partners, because you can have really good product that's backed by science, but if you can't talk about it in a way that's compelling to others, it's never going to get used. And so I learned about marketing through stories and the power of good marketing. And so I think that I kind of like absorbed some of that through osmosis and all those years, right?
yes.
And one of the other things I learned too is your personal brand is a very powerful marketing tool. Um, your reputation is everything. I mean, it legitimately is the most important thing, I think, because your reputation can open doors for you before you're even in the room. Your reputation is leads to opportunities. And so never underestimate the value of kind of your personal brand. And so kind of going back to LinkedIn, that's another reason why I think LinkedIn was a good tool for me because it kind of helped me show my personality to people who never met me before, who didn't know me or they just knew me as Dr. Vineyard from Purina, not Dr. Vineyard, the nutritionist, or
Mhm.
the new business owner, or there's like other sides to me too, right? Um, and so I think the personal brand part is something I kind of learned. It's valuable, and if you can kind of focus on that and always remember, like, just be a nice person, be somebody that other people want to work with and genuinely want to help someone, and that really goes a long way into kind of doing marketing for you. It's like the easiest way to market yourself is just to be a good person to work with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
isn't that the truth?
yeah.
I love that you said that though, Kelly, because I often, actually, I will say for myself, even in my early on business journey, I was not really wanting to build a personal brand. I was like, I just want to work with some clients until I can get to the point that I can build a nonprofit. Like that was my long term
Mhm.
goal. And so I was really avoiding showing up on camera and doing those things because I was like, that's not interesting to me. I don't want to put myself out there. I'm not the person that's going to take a selfie, drinking coffee, those types of things. Although I have done it now because not the
Yeah.
same way, but just like the behind the scenes and trying to make it authentic, like you said. But I wouldn't naturally do that. I'm not naturally going to pull out my phone and take a picture of me at the park. I naturally would rather put my phone away and not
Right.
even be on it at the park, right?
Right.
But I had to learn in what I coach now, people buy from people. I had to be reminded of that
Mhm.
yes, you can build a trusted brand, Storm Lily Marketing, but they still want to know the person behind the brand.
Right.
Same with EquiVine as a brand, but they want to know the person behind the brand and build that trust with them. So I think that's such a good reminder. Now, one thing that you haven't mentioned that I want people to know that you do that again, people can get creative how they do it, that's worked well for you is presenting. Again, what you said
Yes.
earlier, you're an educator and a scientist by heart. People already know that about you. So even right out the gate, I feel like if I'm right, you were starting to get some speaking opportunities, some podcasting opportunities and things like
Right.
that that have also been a great marketing avenue for you.
Yeah, I mean, I have put myself out there, I pretty much say yes to, any invitation, whether it's speaking or a podcast, and I mean, again, maybe I'd say some strategic no's too, but,
Yes.
going to conferences, right? Like, industry conferences, is also another great way to kind of put yourself out there, but those have led to like speaking opportunities or podcast opportunities. And I love talking about nutrition, and I love making it easily understandable for horse owners. I mean, that's like, I would enjoy nothing more than to talk about nutrition, right? So it's an easy yes to talk about stuff like that. But um, I have two upcoming presentations this year that I submitted. Like I proactively, submitted an abstract and they accepted it
Mhm.
to talk about, the role of science and industry at the American Horse Council convention coming up in June. And actually, I'm speaking next week at the NASC conference about science and marketing and horse owner messaging and things that I do have a unique insight on, and I wanna share that insight with other people in the industry to hopefully help them, you know,
Mhm.
help them meet their goals, and I'm aligned with it. That feels really right to
Yeah.
me. So,
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for those opportunities. I do think that they're helpful to kind of as another form of marketing, right? Just to
Yes.
get your message out there and let people know that you exist.
Yeah. Oh, no,
Yeah.
it's so smart and strategic. And again, for listeners, like it could be a national level and it could be a local level. There's so many different ways that you can get out there and again, put yourself out there as an expert and don't wait for them to come to you. Look for
Right, don't
ways
wait
that
for
you
them to
can get
come to
out.
you. That's
Yeah.
the key there. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, Kelly, I would love if you would pretend like you're sitting across the table from somebody who wants to learn about building a business that meets their definition of success and feels aligned, like you said earlier. What are some of the lessons learned or things to know that you would share with them as a fellow entrepreneur?
Well, I think you already said this once. So, but I'm going to say it again because I was thinking about, I think this is really important. If you're going to start your own business, you need to know your why.
Mm.
And because building a business is hard, there's no guarantees, there's no roadmap. You are going to have to figure it out as you go along. And personally, I don't think the why, your number one why, should be to make money because there's a million ways you can make money, right? And none of them are wrong or right. They're just a lot of different ways. But there's really only one reason to start your own business, and that's deeper than that. It's, do you have a unique skill set, a unique skill, a unique thing you want to bring into the world, something that drives you like when the chips are down. And that'll kind of keep you going. And so, my reason was I wanted to gain sort of like more intellectual freedom, intellectual autonomy. And I wanted to help other companies, reach their goals, through leaning on science. That was it. And the only way I could do that was to start my own business. And
Mhm.
so that's sort of what my why is. So I think knowing your why is a big one. I think too, as an entrepreneur, especially if you're service based or even like product based, your customers need to come first.
Mm.
Put your clients first. Put your customers first because, always remember that you're in this to serve them, not the other way around. They're not here to like pay your paycheck. You're here to serve them and you're exchanging value. And I that's a little bit of a mindset thing too. But if you take that mindset, you still choose who you want to serve. You still choose who to some extent, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Um, but when you give your best effort, not only is it the right thing to do, it's also good marketing, and it's going to ensure you have repeat customers, and it's going to ensure, word of mouth can spread. If you're kind of giving your best effort, like that is just a win-win for clients and you. And so I think always put your customers first is another thing to keep in mind. And then I guess the last thing I might say is just be willing to ask for help, you know, because you're not going to figure it all out on your own. You don't have to. There are people who are willing to help if you ask.
Mhm.
Denise, you're one of those people who've helped me a lot. And I have some others in my life that, sometimes you don't want to ask for help. You want to, you want to think you can figure it out yourself. But when you ask people with more experience, it's like skipping in line, like you're getting to cut in
Yeah.
line a little bit and you can maybe not make the same mistakes they did, or they have different insights that you can just sort of bypass those mistakes. And it just gets you to where you want to go faster. And um, you can't do it all yourself. So be willing to ask for help when you can.
That's so good. I would say, yes, success doesn't happen in a silo, period.
Mhm.
It's not going to
No.
happen. So I love that. Lean into that if you would, Kelly, because I know that's something you mentioned is a large part of your story is the power of mentorship. So
Mhm.
tell me a bit about how that's impacted you even in this business building process.
Well, I mean, it's everything really. I think people have different kind of personalities, and I'm kind of a person that, some I question myself a lot, and I'm not always 100% confident in what I'm doing, and having a good mentor sometimes, like, gives you that last 10% that you need to
Yeah.
give you the confidence, like, yes, like, you are on the right track, or no, like, that gut feeling that said that wasn't something you should be doing, you should listen to that.
Mhm.
I've always found it very helpful to have a good, strong mentor in my life, and multiple ones, really, um, because it's just something that, like, I'm wired that way, that sometimes I need a little bit of extra reassurance. On the flip side, I now am becoming a mentor to others, and it's I love it. Like, I want to help other people. I kinda see myself in some of these younger, like, maybe scientists or younger people in the equine industry that come to me on LinkedIn, maybe that I've never met before, but they've seen what I'm doing, and I love that. Like, I welcome that, and I want to kind of pour what those mentors have poured into me. Now I get to pour that into somebody else, and
Mhm.
it's like this really beautiful circle of, like, we're all gonna raise each other up, at the end
Yeah.
of the day. And so I think mentorship on both sides is just key, not only in business, but in life.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
It's really fulfilling.
Yeah, that's a good word. And like you said, and it betters the community as a whole, right? That's
Mhm.
the thing. And even when I think about what we said of don't wait for people to ask you if you want to speak somewhere, it's kind of the same thing, which you saying you reached out to the guy across the pond and said, hey, can we connect? Right? That takes some guts. That takes some being uncomfortable and willingness to reach out. But then he said yes. So just think if you hadn't taken that step,
Yeah.
what you would have missed out on. And what I guarantee he's probably learning a, some things from you in this process. You may not be teaching him, but we all have things to learn from each other. Like you're going to learn from those that you're mentoring some things, right? So it's a beautiful thing where we can just all be learning together. So I love that.
Yeah.
All right, friend, is there anything else that we think about business building in the equine industry that you would love to leave on and share with my listeners?
Well, I think we've really covered it. I mean, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, and don't be afraid to bet on yourself, because at the end of the day, you know your capabilities, you know what drives you, and kind of what the fire in your belly, like, that will
Yeah.
lead you to some good things if you let it, but also you have to be strategic about it, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, I love that. Yes, follow the fire in your belly because that's the
Mhm.
thing too. So many people may be at a time of pivot or shifting, and they're saying, "I did bet on myself, and that was 5 years ago, and this feels really, really good, but now I'm feeling a shift." You still have to keep betting on yourself,
That's
right?
it,
It's not like a one
always.
and done decision. You have to
Right.
continue to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, keep
I
betting
love-
on yourself.
Okay, tell everybody where they can find you online. Of course, I will have all the links in the show notes, but for those who want to pull out their phone right now, where is the best place to find you and connect with you?
Well, LinkedIn, of course, Kelly Vineyard, MS PhD. And then also my website is EquiVine PhD Nutrition.com.
Perfect. Yep, I will
That's
link
great,
to
right?
those. Yeah. That's so funny.
No, it's not.
It's equivinephd.com because we did talk about the both. Even as you said that, I was like, I'm pausing on that one, but I think I'm gonna
It
as
is
I'm looking, I'm like, I'm looking. It's
equivinephd.com.
both. It's both. You bought both domains because I remember we talked about this because I just put it in. So if anybody puts in the first one, you're still gonna get there.
Well, it's good
Um,
to know. I think
yeah.
that was good advice. Thank you, Denise.
I love that. Thank you so much, Kelly. I so appreciate you. I wish you the very, very best. I'm so honored to be on this journey with you, and I appreciate you sharing your insights.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed getting to know Kelly and learning from her. I thought she had such wonderful nuggets of wisdom to share that apply to all of us in every stage and season of business. It is so easy to get caught up in the idea that branding is just what we put online or it's just the logo. But the reality is, your brand is so much bigger than that. And your personal brand, you as a person representing your equine business, that is a great marketing asset that I want you to utilize and not undervalue. So I hope that this encouragement from Kelly was a good reminder to you and also gives you some freedom because, as she talked about, she has focused on LinkedIn intentionally, and that has been fruitful, extremely fruitful, and the relationships that she has and the teaching and the education. So, knowing exactly where your people are and focusing on that is so much more important than trying to be everywhere and talk to everyone. So I do want to remind you guys, and Kelly and I talked about it briefly, that coaching can really help with that clarity piece when you're feeling like you need to be everywhere. And so I want to invite you to check out Take the Reins, my 6-month one-on-one coaching program. I created and built this program exactly for you, the equine entrepreneur who is driven by the passion for the horses and what you do in the horse world. You want to continue doing more of that, but the marketing piece has continued to leave you feel like you're lagging or leave you feeling like you're not really attracting the people that you want to work with or that you're not growing in the way that you want to and you know that you can. So your messaging feels off, your social media feels haphazard, you're not sure your website's actually working to convert clients. Those are the things that we address together inside of Take the Reins. And I would love to invite you to apply if that is something that's a fit for you, if you just want to learn more. So just go to stormlilymarketing.com/reins, or actually super easy, cut off the marketing and go to stormlily.com/reins. It'll get you to the same place. You can find all the information about what is included there, what the program is, and then apply. And the reason for the application is so you and I can get to know one another. I always want to make sure that it's a great fit for my clients and that we're a great fit for working together. So rather than just start now, I'm saying head there and apply, and we'll jump on a Zoom call together so you can get to know me and I can get to know more about you, your business, and your goals. So again, that's stormlily.com/reins to learn more about that one-on-one coaching. But either way, friends, I do hope you walk away feeling freedom to market your business in a way that fits you, fits your business goals, and connects you to more of those right people and horses that you love to work with. Thanks so much for joining me here on the podcast. I so appreciate it. Continue to stay tuned. Each week, I am bringing you new episodes, new guests, new friends, and new people that you can learn from as you build and grow your equine business. Thanks for joining me here, guys. Have an amazing day.